Hi, I'm Craig Hohnberger. I'm the owner of Buji Action Coach, business coaching. We do business coaching, leadership training, development. We grow businesses and help business leaders achieve their goals a whole lot faster than they ever could on their own. We've got 25 offices around the Midwest, and we're actually affiliated with the world's largest business coaching firm with offices, affiliate offices in 73 countries around the world. So what we're going to talk about today is the 6 steps to building a growing, thriving, sustainably successful business. And there are 6 steps that every business has to go through to get to that point. So what I want to cover first is why we even go into business in the first place. If somebody owns a business, it's ultimately to create more life. So whether you own a CPA firm or whether you're an employee of somebody else's firm, your business or your career ought to give you more life. That's the only reason we work. That's the only reason we go into business. The gap for every person on the planet between where they're at today and where they really want to get to in life, it comes down to 3 things. It's time, it's money, and it's people. We need the time to do what we really want to do. We need the financial ability to get there, to fund life. And we need the right people in our life that we have great relationships with. So everything we do, that's what we're about. So I'm going to share that with you today. And the reason why is because we love small business and we love business in general, because businesses at the end of the day are the influencers of the world. Businesses influence their families, they influence their employees and their families, their own customers, their suppliers, the cities they do business, the charities they fund, even the politicians they fund. So if we have growing, thriving businesses with great cultures, we actually can change the world. So that's why we do what we do. We're here, our vision is world abundance through business re-education. So part of that is the re-education portion. I'm going to hopefully educate you on a few things you can use right now in your business. And similarly, the world abundance part is if we can help enough business owners really build sustainably successful, growing businesses, we change a lot of lives in the process. As part of this, our philosophy is that a business should finish. So finished means the business can now work without the owner being there. So think about that. Large corporations are already there. The owners are the shareholders from Wall Street, right? And they've built great systems to get there. Most small businesses, unfortunately, never get there. Vast majority go out of business. Vast majority that even become sustainable enough to position themselves to sell don't ever sell. They liquidate, they sell their stuff. It's selling off old inventory, selling off equipment, selling off furniture, trying to get out of their lease. So on the small business side, we want to think like the owners who've created and the entrepreneurs who've created large corporations and now have CEOs running them. We want to finish the business so it can work without the owner being there. What that does is it increases the valuation of the business. It's worth a lot more money. When the owner decides to retire, all those jobs are still safe. Those people and their families are safe. So that's what we want to do with our business. It's a core philosophy that we hold near and dear. And the difference for everybody, here's the business growth. And we've all heard the phrase, if we're not growing, we're dying, right? So if we're not continuing to grow and innovate, guess what? Somebody else is. Somebody's going to change our industry. That's how large corporations get to where they are and how they get to be worth as much money as they are worth is because they're constantly growing. So we'll pay a lot of money to own stocks. Most small businesses fail very quickly in the first couple of years. Those that get to a point of actually growing will typically grow to a point where we call it the level of incompetence of the owner. So everything he or she knows about owning and building and growing a sustainably successful business, one that can continue to grow without them being there, got them to where they're at. Whether the volume of the business is $500,000 a year, whether it's $50 million a year, whether it's $500 million a year, is irrelevant. Wherever it plateaus out, if it doesn't get back into growth mode, at some point somebody else is going to outgrow. So there's a risk there. So I'm going to cover the 6 steps. I'm going to get into that right now, and I'm going to use an analogy. An analogy is like real estate. So if we were going to build a building from 1 story up to the 6th story, everything below has to be strong enough to support it all. So there needs to be a very deep, strong foundation to support the entire building. And the foundation, as you know, that supports a one-story building, a little ranch-style house, let's say, is much different than the foundation required to support a 6-story office tower. Okay, it has to be a lot deeper, a lot stronger to support a large business. Okay, so the business is represented by the real estate. So I'm going to cover a couple of foundational principles that are absolutely crucial to success in a business, and it's all mindset. And these are principles of life. They'll apply to any stage of life, business or personal. And then I'm going to dive into tactical strategies on how to actually grow the business and get to a place where it can grow without the owner being there, and it's worth a lot more money. So foundational principle number one, I'm going to cover 3. There's 37 core principles down there, but these 3 are absolutely crucial, and they will, if these 3 are there, you'll have the rest anyway. The first one is I choose. So I've chosen the level of health I've got. I've chosen, the extra poundage I've got based on the decisions I've made to eat a little too much at Thanksgiving here recently. I've chosen the quality of relationships that I have with my family, with my wife, with my daughter. I've chosen the quality of employees that I have in my business or the size of the business I have. I've chosen all that based on the decisions and choices I've made leading up till now. So it's up to me to choose a better future or not and choose how I'm going to get there. So that's principle number 1 is I get to choose. Okay? Just like you get to choose and everybody gets to choose. Principle number 2, and this leads directly to principle number 2, which is what I call the crossroads of choice. So the crossroads of choice right here is where we are standing at every moment. And we can choose the high road or we can choose the low road. Okay, unfortunately, the vast majority of people choose the low road. Stuff happens, right? People quit. Customers leave and go somewhere else. The economy gets soft. Somebody flies an airplane into the Twin Towers. Lehman Brothers goes out of business in 2008 and the economy melts down. And a lot of people chose this response. They chose to go into blame, excuses, or denial. What we see with the businesses that we work with, and we work with a lot of different businesses. We've been in business since 2001. We work with small to mid-market businesses and large corporations. People will blame their employees, they'll blame the government, they'll blame the economy, they'll blame their competitors. They'll make excuses. I know I need to learn new skills, but I just don't have the time. I know I need to develop a really good strategic marketing plan, but I don't have the skills. They'll make excuses about it. Or they'll go into denial. The big 2 denial ones that we see all the time are number 1, I just can't find good people. Good people, nobody out there works as hard as I was taught to work. I can't find them, they're not out there. I'm telling you right now, there are great people out there if you choose to be the right kind of leader and build the right kind of culture to attract them. The other denial one I see is people will set goals and say, this is what I really want, but then they're not willing to actually make the changes necessary to get there. And we're coming up on New Year's here shortly, in a couple of weeks, and there's going to be a lot of people on New Year's Day set their New Year's resolutions to lose a bunch of weight and get in shape physically, but they're not willing to actually do the exercise and eat the diet to get there. So they're really just in denial. They really don't want to achieve those goals. So that's the low road. The high road is where we take complete ownership, accountability, and responsibility for everything that happens. Because at the end of the day, we get to choose. Especially if we're a business owner or business leader, we choose everything. So this is the buck stops here kind of mentality. There's a difference between accountability and responsibility that a lot of people confuse. So accountability is the ability to account for. Since you are a bunch of CPAs watching this right now, a bunch of accountants, you guys are good at this piece of it, but it's measuring, having numbers, having metrics, et cetera. If we don't have the metrics, how are we going to make the right choices? Responsibility is the ability to respond. So when something happens, if I have the right numbers, I can actually respond appropriately. Accountability and responsibility, those two you can give to people if you're a leader. Okay, you can tell them you are accountable for this. You are responsible for this area of the business, for doing whatever your tasks are to get whatever results you have to give. Ownership, though, this is more of a mindset that people have to take. Somebody has to take ownership. You can't give them ownership. So this is actually the difference between managers and leaders. So great managers will hold people accountable and responsible to get done what needs to be done in the timing and at the quality level and at the price point it needs to be done. But great leaders, they actually take ownership. Okay, so we're going to cover a little bit of that as we go forward. So the key, if we want to be more successful, is we have to always choose the high road. And if we find ourselves on the low road, if we find ourselves doing blame, excuses, denial, that we get back up here and go, well, I get to choose how I'm going to respond to this situation that happened. And that leads to core principle number 3, which is whatever it is I choose to have in life or in business, it follows this formula. Who do I need to be and what do I need to do to get there? So if I want to have a certain kind of quality employee or a certain style of culture in my business, if I want to have a certain level of income or a certain kind of relationship with my daughters, who do I need to be and what do I need to do to get there? The reason it's multiplied is when we get really clear about this, when we really know what we want to have 100% of it, and on a scale of 0 to 10, we've got to be a 10 out of 10 on both of those. If I'm just the median person, I'm 5 out of 10, I'm only get to 25% of my goals. If I'm better than median, I'm 7 out of 10 on each one of them, I'm at 49%. I'm roughly about half. And that's why the vast majority of people never achieve their goals. Okay, so these are core foundational principles. They apply to life. They apply to business. If you're going to be ever more successful, you've got to get on board with these kinds of principles more. So now I'm going to dive into the 6 steps and cover these very briefly. This can take years to actually get fully implemented in a business. So every business on the planet, to get to a point of being finished, that's what the F stands for, has to go through these 6 stages. Okay, so finished, our definition of a finished business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that continues to grow and thrive without the owner being there. The owner is truly at the investor level now. They're the chairman of the board. There's a president, CEO, general manager, whatever title, depending on the size of the business that you own, in place running it day to day. So the first level, a couple of other key points before I get through each of the levels. This is the valuation. So down here at the first level, businesses are worth less than 1 times their earnings. Okay, this is where they're liquidating stuff. The owner hasn't been able to make enough money consistently. The business is unsaleable, so they have to go get a job to pay the mortgage, put food on the table, take care of the family in retirement. So they just liquidate the business and get whatever they can for it. Up here, businesses are worth 6 to 15 times earnings, maybe more if it's a pretty large corporation. Right now, the average PE ratio is somewhere in the 22 to 23 range. So we're paying a lot for large corporations because there's very little risk. And that's why. Most small businesses, you guys being CPAs will understand this, most small businesses will sell, if they're saleable, sell for only 1 to 3 times earnings. That's about it. Sometimes 4, right? And that's a lot of heartache that people put in years and sometimes putting payroll on credit cards and all that kind of stuff to build a business, sell it, and only get 1 or 2 or 3 times earnings. What we want to do is finish that business so it's worth a lot more. So at this level, the mastery level, that's what we call it, the M stands for mastery. The mastery level of a business is all about survivability and positioning the business for future success. So there's 2 things that a business has to get right just to survive. And then there's a couple of things that they have to get right to truly thrive long-term through this. So at the mastery level, the 2 things that have to happen just to survive, they have to have mastery over the financials. They have to understand gross margin percentages. They have to understand their cash gap from the time I start supporting a sale by buying inventory or paying for labor or overheads or whatever. When do I actually get cash? They have to understand DTI ratios for bankability and things like that. Most small businesses don't, and that's why most of them go out of business pretty quickly. The other thing that they have to master is they have to master delivery. So what that means is whatever product or service you deliver, it has to be consistent enough that your market people will stop buying from you and you don't have a good business model. Most businesses fail before they ever get out of this stage. Those that make it to this stage, which we call the niche level, are the businesses who've created enough of a niche in their target market or geography that they're making money consistently, month over month, quarter over quarter, and the owner is paying himself or herself enough of a wage that would be competitive in the marketplace, such that if he or she got sick for 4 to 6 months, ended up in the hospital and couldn't work, they could actually pay for somebody with the right capabilities, the right skill sets to run the business in their stead. So the niche level, unfortunately, the vast majority of businesses that actually get to this point, they're making money consistently, they will fail before they ever get out of the stage. And the reason why is any niche, any company that creates a niche, what happens? Competition actually will move in and try and take away their niche. They see an opportunity to make some money in an industry, and they try to commoditize whatever that offering is. So that puts downward pricing pressure on your offering, squeezes margins, and what ends up happening is if you're not really darn good at this and can respond lightning fast to fix the problem, all of a sudden you're not profitable anymore. It pushes you back into mastery. The other thing we see in the niche level is owners have two types of personalities typically. One type is they kick their feet up, I'm making money, I'm not working for the man anymore, so you know what, this is as good as it gets. And they don't keep innovating, no, they don't keep pushing that business forward. What happens is somebody else will out-innovate them. Somebody might have had a niche for 3 generations in their family, and grandpa started the pharmacy in town, dad took over, I took over, and then CVS moved in and put us right out of business. Well, CVS was one little pharmacy way back when they started. They just kept out-innovating the people and took away that market presence. So at the niche level, when we get to the point of really making money consistently, we want to get really clear on what our differentiation in the marketplace is, and then we want to build everything around that. All of our marketing and sales systems and everything should leverage that in the marketplace so we can drive growth. There's actually 5 key variables here that just with small improvements, small incremental 10% improvements will drive 61% to the bottom line of any business out there. Do that year over year, in 5 years, all of a sudden it's 10 to 11x the bottom line of a business. So that's how little businesses become big. What that causes, though, is it causes growth problems. Growth causes growing pains. You got more people, you got more headaches. Typically, everything's residing within the owner, so that's what level 3 is all about. So level 3 is all about leverage. We want to leverage what we've created, a profitable business model. People like it. We're making money. So it's about systemization of the entire business. And we systemize the entire business, everything from hiring people, delivering the service, et cetera. Think McDonald's, right? They can take kids that you and I can't even get them to clean their bedrooms every day. And McDonald's is making millions of dollars a year with them in their stores because their systems are so good that these kids just follow the system. And then they've got the right managers and leaders to manage them properly. So it's about systemization of the business, including innovation. So at the systemization, what happens is we have great systems. We know our numbers inside out. We know how fast we can grow capacity. We know for every dollar of marketing we spend, how many dollars of profit we get back because we're very accountable and we're measuring all this stuff. Now we can leverage this even further. We've got good systems. We can leverage it with people by bringing in people to run those systems. We can leverage it with technology, okay, to automate more and more of the business. And we can leverage it with finance, which you guys should understand. Because we've got such good handle on our numbers and our systems, we can actually go to the bank and get cheap money to continue to expand the business, or go to investors and get a better valuation of our business. This is where the business starts really becoming worth money. In my corporate days, we used to buy businesses that were in these levels up here and merge them in with our large corporations. I was with Newell Rubbermaid, with GE, with Pillsbury, and I was involved with a lot of mergers and acquisitions and business turnarounds. And we would buy businesses up here. The next level up, it's called the team level. The team level is all about succession planning and building that leadership team to run each of the departments. So every business on the planet has a very similar org chart. You've got the ownership at the top. In large corporations, this would be the investors on Wall Street. Small business, you'd have the ownership group, one person or several people. Just below that, you've got the general manager, president, or CEO, whoever runs it day to day. Then you've got your key leaders that run each department. So your VP of sales, your VP of marketing, your VP of HR, operations, IT, etc. The key at the team level is getting the owner's name out of all those level 3 and below activities so that they're strictly the president, GM, and the owner. The litmus test here is, can the owner leave for 6 to 8 weeks, not have any contact at all with the business? No texting, no emailing, no phone calling the business. If they can truly do that, the business now, it's becoming worth more money, okay? There's a lot less risk to an investor group to come in and buy that business. So the valuation has gone up. They've got a really nice business. The thing is, it's still a lot about them, okay? So there's some key things we have to do to get to the next level, or through the next level. The next level is synergy. Synergy is all about getting that owner out of that president, general manager type hat, so they're not running the business day to day. So we want the owner to get somebody into that president GM spot, ideally somebody who's internal to the business, who fits the culture, who they know, like, and trust. But the key at this level is that culture has to be so strong that if the owner actually picks the wrong person, that person can't screw up the business. The other key here is the owner has to take the business away from their personal cult of personality, and they have to systematize the culture that they bring to the party to have created this kind of a successful business. And that leads to a couple key things that are the difference between those managers and owners. The owners truly own the culture. They're the keeper of the gate of the culture, and the owner's job ultimately is to be the keeper of the gate of the vision, be the keeper of the gate of the culture, and create a culture where the people can thrive and take really good care of each other without fear. They'll then take really good care of the customers or clients or patients of the business, which then takes really good care of the business by coming back more often, spending more money, etc. And the business takes really good care of the ownership by producing a lot of profits and a lot of cash flow so they can invest in a bigger business and employ more people within this great culture, and it's this virtuous cycle. So that's what the synergy level is all about. And there's a company right here in Central Ohio that a lot of people know of, where it grew for 25 years straight, never had a down quarter, never, with the father owning it. When he passed on and the daughter took over, boom, it started going backwards, and the local press beat them up about her not being as good as her dad, but it wasn't her fault. It was literally her dad built a business that really relied on his culture, his cult of personality. So that's the synergy level. Now we get to the finished level. We've got a general manager in place. The litmus test to know if we've made it is, can the owner leave for a year or more and come back just on quarterly board of directors meetings with no interaction in the business, and not only are there no problems, but the business continues to grow and thrive. So those are the 6 steps to finishing a business and why it's so important. Culture will trump strategy every day, so culture fits down into those foundational principles. So one of the keys as we get into here is really defining culture points, defining integrity, defining whatever your culture points happen to be. These are the rules of the game for who gets on the bus and who gets kicked off the bus if they're not abiding by those cultural principles. So culture is absolutely crucial, and then having the right strategies and tactics to get through this in the proper order, because if we skip steps, what happens is, just like in a building, we can't be building this if this stuff isn't strong enough to support it. So it's absolutely crucial that we get this in the right order and continue to grow the business properly. So I'm Craig Hohnberger with Buji Action Coach. If you'd like to connect, our phone number is 929-3355. Kevin Solin on our team handles business development and new relationships and that kind of stuff. And I'm the founder of Buji Action Coach, and our website is bujictioncoach.com. Thank you.